A man pulls into a parking lot in a 15-year-old Honda. Nobody looks twice. What nobody knows is that he's worth $4 million. And he wants it that way. We're taught that wealth looks like watches, cars, and vacations. But what if the richest people you'll ever meet are the ones who look the most ordinary? Today we're uncovering why so many wealthy people deliberately hide their money, and what that hidden habit reveals about the psychology of getting rich and staying rich. Picture two neighbors. One leases a shiny new SUV every 3 years. The other drives the same pickup truck since college. Everyone assumes they know who's doing better. But here's what almost nobody realizes. The SUV is financed on a 5-year loan he can barely afford. The truck owner has no debt at all and a growing investment account. We've built an entire culture around performing wealth instead of building it. Looking successful has quietly become more important to some people than actually being secure. There's a term for people who quietly build fortunes while living below their means. Financial researchers call it stealth wealth, and it's far more common than the headlines suggest. If you worked hard for your money, wouldn't you want people to know? For a growing number of wealthy people, the honest answer is no. And the reasons are more rational than you'd think. The moment people believe you have money, something shifts. Prices change. Requests appear. Relationships get complicated. Wealth researchers have a name for this invisible cost. A visible promotion or a new house can trigger a wave of requests from family and friends. Loans that are never repaid. Investments that quietly drain years of savings. Contractors quote higher prices to a homeowner in a nice suburb. Salespeople push harder on someone wearing an expensive watch. Looking wealthy can quietly cost you at every negotiation. But here's what almost nobody realizes. This isn't just about avoiding awkward conversations. It taps into one of the oldest survival instincts we have. For most of human history, standing out with resources made you a target, not a hero. Our brains still carry that old warning, even in a world of bank accounts and index funds. So instead of hiding gold under floorboards, modern stealth wealth looks like an ordinary car, a modest house, and a wardrobe nobody would ever notice. Here's the problem. While quiet savers protect their money, most people are taught the opposite lesson. That looking successful is how you become successful. A leased car, a financed watch, a vacation on a credit card. Each purchase buys a moment of status, borrowed entirely against the future. We don't compare our lives to reality. We compare them to what other people choose to show us, and almost nobody shows the loan payments. So the people who look the richest are often the most financially fragile. And the people who look the most ordinary are often the ones with real staying power. This isn't just an interesting contrast. It's a system that quietly decides who builds lasting wealth and who stays stuck chasing the appearance of it. Psychologists have found that the pain of losing money hits us roughly twice as hard as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. Quiet wealth builders use this instinct to their advantage instead of against it. Our brains are wired to overvalue right now and undervalue the future. A new car today feels real. A bigger retirement account in 30 years feels like fiction. But here's what almost nobody realizes. The people who master stealth wealth aren't immune to these instincts. They've just learned to redirect them. They treat the urge to show off as a signal, not a command. They feel the pull toward the new purchase, and they choose the quiet account instead. For these savers, self-worth stopped depending on what other people thought. That single shift removes most of the pressure that drives lifestyle inflation in the first place. The real divide in personal finance was never rich versus poor. It's always been visible versus invisible, spending versus compounding, image versus identity. Multiply this pattern across millions of households, and you get an economy where a huge share of visible spending is financed by debt rather than actual income. Behind closed doors, this pressure shows up as arguments about money, hidden purchases, and a quiet anxiety that never really goes away no matter how much comes in. Meanwhile, the households that quietly build wealth tend to share one habit. They stopped needing anyone's approval before they made a purchase. Every dollar not spent on appearances gets to compound quietly for decades. Over time, that invisible advantage becomes larger than almost anyone imagines. So the real cost of looking rich was never just the purchase price. It's every dollar of compounding you traded away for a moment of being noticed. Children raised around quiet, financially secure households absorbed something valuable early. That self-worth and net worth were never supposed to be the same thing. This is often how wealth actually survives across generations, not through a single windfall, but through a quiet mindset passed down at the dinner table. But here's what almost nobody realizes. Hiding wealth isn't about secrecy for its own sake. It's about protecting the conditions that let wealth keep growing. None of this means wealth should be shamed or that spending is wrong. It means visibility should be a choice, made deliberately, not a reflex driven by comparison. What looks like modesty from the outside is often a highly developed financial skill on the inside. The ability to feel the pull of status and choose something quieter anyway. Maybe the goal was never to look rich at all. Maybe it was always to feel secure enough that you never needed anyone else to notice. That man in the old Honda isn't hiding out of shame. He simply figured out, a long time ago, that quiet compounding beats loud comparison every single time. The next time you feel pressure to show off a purchase, pause and ask what you're really buying. A moment of being seen or a future of being secure. If wealth were invisible tomorrow and no one could ever see what you owned again, would you still be making the same financial choices you're making today? If this changed the way you think about money and image, subscribe. We break down the hidden psychology behind everyday financial decisions every week, one story at a time.